Welcome back, everybody. It's me, Embraced, and we are back in the Amber City. We finished up our new bookstore storage last time, as well as creating a facade for our uh our mushroom tree farm. And also in between episodes, I went ahead and made a renewable resource for I can never remember what it's called. Gosh, what is it called? The warped fungus. I made essentially a flower farm, except on Nylium. But I used some extra things that I've never done before. I'm not the biggest redstoner, but I really wanted to give this project my all. So I tried to look up very few things while also trying to figure out some things myself. So I wanted to use an item filter, I wanted to use a filter system, and I also wanted to use the extra plant stuff that was being generated by the farm itself and turn into bone meal to resupply the farm. Which I'm really proud of this. I think it came a long ways. I also wanted to make sure that it could be turned on and off reliably. So I added this switch here to bone meal the Nylium, producing all of this beautiful, lovely fungus and green grass. It also randomly will generate twisting vines, but that's much more interesting. But that's loud. Let's turn that off. It'll all come down. Oh, goodness. It'll all come down here. And it will all get composted and filtered as well. Right. See? Just a little lovely thing to help along my shroomlight addiction and keep... Oh, I didn't mean to turn that back on. I may have done that too fast. We're gonna see. And I broke it. That's okay. I'll fix it real quick. I have a really bad habit of making non-beginner friendly farms, or not user-friendly farms, and then breaking them myself. It truly is my greatest superpower. Oop, goodness. Hello there. But today, you may have seen that not only did I make that farm, but I also did some planning. Not just over there, but over here as well. We have some streets laid out. We have a large yellow rectangle, as well as some smaller yellow rectangles over here. And this is supposed to be like a city. Obviously, it's meant to be a city, but like this is meant to be a street view. So I want to kind of lay this out and have a bunch of buildings kind of along this way. The interesting thing in particular that I want to do is I want to create housings for these right here, which is the ways that I have normally gotten back and forth to there before I got my elytra. And so I want to make unique housing for them so that they can still have a purpose, still look pretty, and all of that. It's honestly a bit intimidating. Yeah, no, that's a little bit less intimidating. That's much easier to process. Yeah, no, I think that looks better than just a bunch of wool. No, I think that's much more interesting. Anyway, moving on, I think we got some other stuff that we need to get done today. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna move on that quickly. This was a bit of a process, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really wanted to just get these up so that I can give a sense of what it'd be like to be in the city, and I really am starting to think that I am achieving that feel. I think we're really starting to have like a street life, and then you turn down this burrow. Is this a burrow? I don't actually know, but you turn down this alley and you get the same sense of kind of what the buildings would feel like and what it would be like to walk down a street in busy day London. It'll feel even better when we do all of these, but I'm gonna be honest, this was pretty... Besides these two buildings, this was pretty boring to do, and I don't want to subject myself to that right now. So Instead, we're going to look at the purpose of these. Obviously, they're facades. I know, I'm showing my hand a little bit. But they are just the fronts of the buildings. I did work out kind of how I wanted these roofs to feel, but for now they are just facades. Uh, I will be completely transparent. I do plan on eventually making them at least somewhat come around to the back because I do want the view from the ground looking up to also be kind to the eyes. So I don't think that this really gives the same feeling that this does. And I will have to personally deal with the consequences of that. But also, while we're here, I really wanted to address this in particular. I really, really like it. Uh, Specifically, the different colors of go and stop. I know it probably makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense in my head that green is up and red is down, even though that's magenta and purple and not actually red. But just our little tunnels down and then back up. Whoop. And we're back. Hello. But I actually am not done working in this area because I have other things that I know that I already have kind of conceptualized in my head. Specifically over here, I made this road as well, continuing over this way. And I also extended the road over there. Specifically this area right here, I have a pretty big plan of like knowing what this is going to be about. But I want to hold off a little bit on what that's going to be. So instead, I think I want to work over here on a less resource demanding project. And it'll still be a time sink, but I think it'll look really cool once we connect these areas. Specifically, right here, this is just a straight shot tunnel. I don't think I've really shown this off a lot, obviously because there's not much to show off. But this is just a stone tunnel that to the left here, it goes to my starter house, and to the right here, it goes to a skeleton farm. Which has been supplying all the bones for all of the wood and trees and white dye that I have been using. And it's also been kind of servicing as a small XP farm. But I think that I want to turn this into something a bit more, have it to be interesting. Because I think that I have an idea that will really make it come together. Specifically, what does every large city need? The Romans thought it was important, and New York thinks it's important, all these places. London has one as well. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles think it's one of the greatest places to live. You guessed it, it's a sewer system. It's just a place for all the water to go down, for it to drain, for the rest of the things to happen that happen in sewer systems. I don't need to repeat what those are. Goodness gracious. All these Endermen keep leaving me gifts, and while I appreciate them, the house has been warm for a long time. I don't need anything else. But that, I think, is going to be what we're going to do now. Specifically, and I can kind of creatively walk you through this idea, because this is sort of in line with this pool right here, I think it'd be really cool if instead of connecting just with a walkway, if I had these sewer tunnels connect through the actual mountain itself down to this kind of underground water reservoir. That would make sense for a water drop-off location. I was thinking either that or the ocean. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to settle on, but I think that that will look really cool. It'd also be really gross, considering that this water is being piped into this man's house. I'm sure he will not enjoy to know that he is drinking filthy, dirty city water. With that's enough being said, I think it's time to get this going. And we're done. We just finished out mining at this tunnel. It's not too wide, but it's got plenty of room for activities and plenty of space to cobble together an experience that I think is going to be really communicable. Specifically, we need to gather up some resources. But while I was trying to start that process and decide what kind of blocks I wanted to use for this build, I ran into a bit of a conundrum. Ignore my oxidation. I really lacked the infrastructure for the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to do some mossy cobblestone. I wanted to be able to make some more glass, make some smooth stone, stuff like that. And I realized in making all of this up here, I forgot the entire point of why I was doing this. And it was to make a city that was very livable, very breathable. It is still meant to be a base at the end of the day. I'm enjoying this way too much. But at the end of the day, these houses are meant to host the things that I will need to make the rest of the city and make other things as time goes on. And so in doing so, I realized I lacked way more farms than I realized. Specifically, for the very obvious one that we have next, is I needed to make mossy cobblestone. So I went ahead and made a really simple moss farm. Nothing too complicated, nothing too large scale. It's purely just to give me a source of moss, not for in mass use, but just for the things that I'll need. And also, I made a bamboo farm while I was at it. Again, nothing too complicated. I used the bones from my skeleton farm to build up the dispensers and these extra double chests. It will pulse tick, 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 tick as the bamboo's growing, and it'll push it along this waterway underneath the road all the way over here to a very nice super smelter. It's not quite done, but it is close enough that I thought I was okay with showing it to you. I will finish that off a little bit later, but it works. Oh my goodness. We have a friend. Hello, little buddy. Hello. But yeah, we got a decent amount of things done. I still have a few more blocks that I need to gather up the maximum amount of before the construction of the consumer will be ready. But I think we can get started. Whoa. Hello? Hello? Anyone down here? No? Just me? Okay. Alright, I honestly am really happy with how this turned out. We have a beautiful sewer. As beautiful as a sewer can be, honestly. Uh, it's gross, grassy walls, mud covered, slicked brick water running along these graded tiles. Very cool. And I really get to tie in something that I wasn't going to expect to tie into the city itself that I'm actually glad I get to. If we come down here, there's something lurking in the sewers. Something blocking the drainage. Ooh. What could it be? What could it be? It's a skeleton farm. Nothing too fancy. Just a fun little way to tie in something that I truly did have no plans for. And I'm glad that I found a way to integrate it because I honestly think it looks super cool. It fits the theming, the feeling, the color, and I really like this low lighting that effect it has, especially whenever you're all the way at the other end of the tunnel and you're trying to see down it, and you can kind of make out stuff that's down there, but not quite. But yeah, and that leads towards the starter house, kind of pouring off the edge into a waterfall. And this was really cool. I wanted to really play with light in this. I really wanted to play with light in this area. And so I really wanted to give the feeling that the sewer goes on, because I'm not going to make an entire sewer system for a whole city. I'm instead going to give you the illusion of one that goes on and on and on. Kind of like here, how it looks like it continues through that way. Over there, how it looks like it has a pour off. And then over here, where it looks like we're getting drain off from a much larger system than we are. I personally think that looks really cool. And then, just a simple little pipe for us to go back up into the city. So I got a little bit carried away. I didn't wholeheartedly work on that the entire time, I'll be honest. Instead, I also poured some energy into the farms to make sure that they have everything that they need and that they do work properly over time. So I did use them extensively, and I specifically finished up the Schmelta having the input and the output function. Nothing too complicated, just some simple hop or some simple minecart unloaders. There we go. Some simple minecart unloaders into a chest and a simple minecart loader over here. And yeah, there's one other thing that I got done over here while I was also working on the sewers that I wanted to show off to you. Specifically while I have the mood lighting on. I noticed when I turned the brightness down that it's actually not too noticeable in the daytime. It just enhances certain light areas and effects. Like here, anytime that blocks cover something, it really darkens it, and you have to have lighting on it to really see it. It's very different in my opinion, and I'm honestly not hating it. I think it only truly is painful when you're underground and things aren't lit. But there is another area that I think really gets enhanced by it, and I think that is in here, in our library. I also extended our decorations down because the walls were feeling a bit empty to me. I also kind of want to integrate some of it into this area, but I really like these little decorations that we have. Some hanging bookshelves, some other hanging bookshelves, just some storage that would be integrated into a bookstore, very obviously. And speaking of lighting, there is something that I've been meaning to get around to that I just haven't quite done. Please ignore the oxidation. I have needed so much copper for this project, and I was not expecting to need this much. I thought I had gathered enough copper to last me a month before I realized just how much I wanted to integrate into the build. But specifically, I want to make lampposts. Specifically, one of the things I love about Gaslamp and kind of that whole aesthetic of like Gaslamp fantasy is the gas lamps themselves. And I really just don't have them on the streets. I don't have them anywhere. I want the city to feel like it's powered. I want invisible power lines. I want things steaming and smoking constantly, and I feel like I started off strong, but I haven't included those elements deeper into the city as we go. So I want to take this feeling that we grabbed here and escort it into the city itself. And as the sun is setting on our beautiful city, I think it's time we get rid of these and incorporate a bit more of a permanent feature of lighting into the city. And I think we're going to go with something like this. I will show you. It will be, oh goodness, my inventory. Something along the lines of this. A brick wall, an acacia fence, a lightning rod pointing up, and a lightning rod pointing down. And it gives you this nice gradual rise up. And I think the cherry on top is going to be a lantern. Like so. Ooh, give me that. Like that. I think it just adds a little bit more to the city. And it really brings a little bit more life away from the buildings themselves, which I'm glad that the buildings do feel lively, but I want it to feel good as well. So I'm gonna dot those around in places that I think that will feel good, kind of distribute them evenly, and I will show you all that after. It's a small change, but I really like it. I think it really makes the ambiance come together. You really get a sense of that you're walking through London streets. The only thing it's missing is a bunch of people, but you really get the vibe that there are hundreds of thousands of millions of people all living in this cluster of buildings. Even at night, everything's still bright, even at that low lighting. I think that's super cool. I'm very happy with that. I am very, very happy with that. One last thing before we go. I wanted to come back here to the sewers, and I wanted to kind of officially call this the closet. Just because this is where we keep our skeletons. Anyway, that's it for today. I appreciate y'all coming by and watching. I will see y'all next time in the Amber City. Bye bye. Ignore the oxidation.